Good morning, everyone. This is Griever back here, bringing you guys a very early morning review of Dr. Stone. So, this episode, guys, was quite good. You might be wondering why I'm still in my morning robe and stuff. It's a lovely Sunday and stuff like that, but it's because honestly there was some insomnia and some other stuff going on early this morning, late Saturday night, whatever you want to call it. So I'm up and basically I have some time to kill. I didn't really feel like going back to bed, so now we're going to do a very early morning review of Dr. Stone so I can feel like I accomplished something today, assuming that I fall asleep sometime in the late afternoon sort of idea, and I didn't feel like I wasted my day. So this episode was one of my favorite episodes because it was also one of my favorite moments in the chapter. It was such a good... I like the way they broke it up. I like the way they constantly jump back to seeing Senku counting. This is going on while, his father Byakuya on the space station and dealing with his tribunals. It won't be a very big review, guys. It won't be very long. For one thing, I'm still quite sleepy. But another thing is just because it's not the journey in this particular episode. It's the interaction. It's what the journey has represented, because these aren't the characters we're following. These characters don't mean very much to you and me, before we knew them, and after we know them, they're not going to hold too much weight. That's not a bad thing, because they aren't the focus. It's what happened to them that tells us how this village started, and Byakuya's relationship with his, now we find out here in the anime, of course we knew in the manga, his adoptive son. Even though they have similar hair waviness and stuff like that, they are not blood related. However, he's still his son. And Senku still believes that Byakuya is still his father, sort of idea, right? So it's one of those situations. There's no grimy past thing, tension between those two. You're my son, you're my dad, right? So this was well done. The journey is very simple in this episode. It does jump back and forth a little bit, but I'm going to focus on the Byakuya part and then the Senku part. The Byakuya part is simply, and the last episode, of course, the green petrification ray. We finally see it, and what happened. We only saw it at ground level. Now we see it. It was a beam. It originated up near the north, and it just encompassed the entire Earth in this green aura, this green glow that everyone is, of course, petrified, pun intended, about. They realize what happens by using Twitter, by using video feeds and stuff. They have deduced that all 7 billion people are not available. First, they try to contact NASA. They try to use the radio. They try to do this. They try to do that. They realize that no one's been tweeting. All Twitter activity stopped almost instantaneously. And then they find some video feeds of some live games and stuff and realize they see all the statues and stuff. So they have realized what has gone on. They deduce it quite quickly. This is where they decide to basically go down to Earth, because they're going to be the 6, as Byakuya states, they're going to be the 6 that save 7 billion, not the other way around. So they go down there, 3 of them first, not including Byakuya, and they end up sort of an Apollo 13 sort of situation here. Tom Hanks, Kevin Bacon and stuff, go see that movie if you haven't. Very good movie, very good retelling of what happened there, but a similar idea, I guess, in a sense. They make a crash landing. They're far off. They're in the ocean. They're turned upside down. They only have, 9-10 hours worth of oxygen. There's nothing they can do. And then we find out that Byakuya and the other 2 did go down as well. They abandoned the space station. They took what they could, and now they're back on the mainland, right? He rows the entire way to them, gets them, and brings them back. What a boss, right? What a man. And this is basically where we go through their journey. We do some small time skips. Of course, 2 of the characters are already married. Of course, the head of the space station originally that looks like a Brock on steroids sort of idea with a goatee, and his wife, they end up having a couple of kids. There are some inconsistencies here because it seems to be implying that Lillian and Byakuya never had any children. That's what this is currently implying by just the looks of the anime and what we can deduce. Once again, that's just up for interpretation, really, because what we end up seeing is people getting sick and people dying, and they're starting of this village, the 6 of them, trying to get together and do this stuff. There's a really lovely song. I forgot to mention that last episode review. There's a really lovely song by the character, the Diva Lillian, and she plays some... The songs are in English, so it's really cool, and I really like this songstress. I think she does quite a good job. I'm a real sucker for female singers. I really like the range a lot of them have and the soothing nature in a lot of their voices. So yeah, that's so I really enjoyed this one, and I like the songs. It reminded me of some of those four chord songs and stuff like that. Very standard, but very nice. It really does remind me of another song, especially the chorus. I don't know what song. I tried to figure it out before this review, but I just couldn't. But outside of that, as I said, they jump ahead. We see that the married couple had a couple of kids. 3 years later, 2 of the other crew members, they got together, they got married. But then they start falling sick of pneumonia. Like Connie is the first one to go. So the couple with the kids, which is rather strange, the couples with the kids, they decide to go try to get to the mainland because they're on a desert island. They are not on Japan. They're on an island without the ability to, which of course is super unfortunate. Like really, because at this point we know what it's like 4,000 years later. But at this point, the buildings are still standing. The technology is still there. The power stations, the pharmacies, the empty... Think some I Am Legend, Last Is Us, zombie apocalypse stuff. The malls still have preserved food. There's still antibiotics and medical needs and surgical equipment and 1,000 other things that I can't even rattle off right now. And they basically have no availability of any of this stuff. There's none of that because they can't get to the mainland. They attempt to. We don't really know what happens. They still hold out hope, but we never see them again. They end up, Lillian and Byakuya end up mostly taking care of the kids. And Connie dies in the meantime from pneumonia. Byakuya is very mad at himself because he knows that it was just pneumonia. That's all it was. It was just pneumonia. And yet he can't do anything about it. And... It's kind of heartfelt. It's pretty sad. And then we see Shami. I'm not sure how to say his name. He's the next one to go with pneumonia and stuff, and that's really sad. It didn't appear that there were more than 2 kids at the time from the first couple that left, but later on in the episode, after Shami also succumbs to pneumonia, after a really nice scene with the ramen, because right before, the whole petrification happened, he said we have to have fun and stuff. He said that ramen was absolutely delicious and stuff, and it's a nice moment between Shami and Byakuya before Shami dies, and so now they're both dead, and it's just Lillian and Byakuya with 4 kids now. We see 4 kids. So Connie and Shami did have a couple of kids, clearly by the hairstyles and the hair color. The thing is that after this, we know that Lillian also ends up dying. First, in a combination of things, Byakuya and Lillian still try to keep the village going and stuff. They're trying to figure out how to get to Japan and all these other things because he, of course, still believes in Senku. He realizes that Senku will happen. I'm jumping around a little bit here, but during the whole song thing, the really nice song, we see Byakuya also talking up Senku once again, saying, I'm positive, I'm sure of it, Senku will do this. He's got absolute faith in his kid, and this is such a good father-to-son moment. The weight of it, Senku realizes this, and so does Byakuya. Byakuya knows he will never see his son again. And we don't ever see him upset over this fact. He's proud and looking forward to the fact that every little thing he can do to leave behind for him will mean that he helped his son save humanity. He doesn't believe he can do it in his generation. He's got no, bright ideas. He's like, We don't have the solution, but I know who does. Senku will figure this out. Senku will save humanity, and that's where I'm putting all my eggs in that Easter basket, right? That is what Byakuya is doing, and what faith, what trust a father has in his son and his abilities. What a proud damn dad. Best dad in anime that I can think of in a long time. Of course, I know a lot more with the manga guys, so maybe your guys are thinking after this episode like, okay, yeah, it's a nice moment, but how is he the best dad? You just wait. There's more to Byakuya's story than just this part, right? Of course, we learn more and more and more about what happened in the past, but here we see that Lillian also passes away, and then there's just Byakuya and the 4 kids, it seems like. And but I mean that's not a sure thing, right? It just the appearance looks like Byakuya never left behind any descendants. That's all. He leaves behind. Of course, he talks about the tales. He's like, I need a story about rocks. I need a story about so people will still collect minerals. And he's trying to create these tales, like these stories, so that they can officially, down the line, he can leave something behind for Senku to find something where, like someone like Chrome. So he did find someone like Chrome, right? Because he said we need a story about different types of rocks, so that someone might start collecting rocks and stuff, so that there will be some mineral gathering, and that'll be good stores for Senku. We need a story about how to stay away from this and that and the other thing, the dangers of the world, and what's this and what's that. So he starts leaving behind. Now, this was, of course, the 100th tale. The 100th tale, of course, is the one with, Byakuya telling his story. And that's basically, and we see that Byakuya also has his grave there as kids run around, because we saw first it was Connie, Shmi, and then Lillian, and finally Byakuya. Ironically, though, there was never one for the other 2. We don't see it here in the anime anyways now, because of course they always held up faith that they would come back, or they were alive, or etc., etc. So this is kind of interesting, but suffice it to say, that's basically the end of the Byakuya part. We jump back over to the Senku part of things. Now, they do jump around in the episode, but as I said, I just did the Byakuya part. Now we're going to do the Senku part here in the present. They're still in the hut talking to Ruri about this stuff, and it's... How do I describe this? The belief level of the people, the belief level in all the people in that room shouldn't be that surprising, but I still found it very quick to accept. 6 people, including Senku's dad, came down from the sky. I mean, I know they've seen some stuff already, but they're still calling Chrome a sorcery user. It's a little intense. Now, to be fair, a lot of the village isn't in this room. It's the people that believe in science and recognize what has happened. And, of course, Ruri's the one telling the tale. It's not really Senku. So, maybe, of course, they're priestess. It's more religion than political-based in that position. So, maybe there's a little more faith there. But either way, Ruri tells the tale. Of course, Senku basically says, yeah, we're not blood-related. No, none of us are related. That would be generations past, so it wouldn't matter. And then they basically start the celebration. They try to get Gen involved. Everyone's drunk, everyone's drinking, everybody's having a good time. They're wondering where the chief is. Ruri is taking Senku to the graveyard, to the village graveyard. Because it's a message from Byakuya. It's the last one of the 100 tales. It's the last part, and she felt that only Senku should be the one to hear it. So they go up, and they realize, here's all these grave sites, here's all these gravestones, and they go to the very top. Of course, that's supposedly Byakuya's, and Ruri basically tells him the message, and it's Byakuya standing there by the grave saying, how you doing, Senku? I'm doing great. Well, I'm probably not great, seeing as how I'm dead, and I've probably been dead for a long time, but if you're hearing this, that's great. That means you're alive. That means you broke through the petrification, and you're doing good. I left you behind. All I could do is, the most I could do for you was leave you behind the 100 tales to help, you find friends that would help you do this stuff. Like, Byakuya had such foresight and such insight into what was going to go down and what was likely going to be the most needed and the most necessary. And halfway through this, of course, we get Senku kind of seeing Byakuya vision as sort of a symbolic representation of Byakuya telling it to him personally, saying, I believe in you, Senku. It's all about the journey here. The journey and the friends you make along the way will help you to restore humanity. I have total faith in you. I hope every single thing that I, tried to pass down has been passed down and you find some use out of it. It's really nice. It's really heartfelt, and that's when Senku basically he starts to clench his fists, and he just says, I'll see you back at the village, pretty much to Ruri understands. She leaves. That's when Senku, Mr. Logic himself, basically thinks all about how all this stuff happened while he was counting seconds. He was just counting the seconds away, and how useful that has been, but he was counting the seconds away, and it felt like a whole different life ago, because remember, even though he kept his brain active, for him it was so dull, it probably didn't truly feel like 3,700 years, Byakuya, like his dad's not coming back, he's never going to see his dad again. He's still a son to a father, and he woke up. It's one of those things where coma patients remember things, but for them, they wake up 5 years later. Think of it like a coma situation. That's the way I've always looked at petrification, because they wake up and they're just kind of like, what's happened? Where are we? Your brain might be active, but it's not, it's active, but it's not coherent necessarily. It's not really fully aware. It's not using its time dilation properly. It's not using its full amount of capabilities and senses. So for Senku to wake up, even keeping his brain as active as he did, it was just enough to keep the motor running. He was idling the motor. He wasn't driving the car. And this here is a representation of that, because then we see Senku, he starts to cry for his dad. He's like, he doesn't really say anything. He doesn't say, I miss you, or anything like that. He just, after crying for a second and wiping the tears away, he says, thank you so much for the gift you left for me thousands of years later. A man so focused, a science man, a man who probably to him religion is just something to be understood and used as a tool of science, as a man of logic. This was very nice to see that break. It's like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He still can talk to the moon in the sky and just, say the words out loud, thanks, Dad, pretty much. And it's right here, guys. It's right in the feels. Of course, the artwork by, Dr. Stone artwork is absolutely incredible by Bocce. It's amazing, and the anime does it some good justice here in this episode. Senku returns, and again, basically says at the end of the episode here, the Tsukasa Empire is coming. They're on their way, and Senku's just like, all right, Kingdom of Science versus Kingdom of Light. This is exhilarating. Let's do this. End of the episode. Really good episode, guys, as you guys can tell home. I mean, this review is almost as long as the episode, but I really wanted to nail it home how good, like, tying this all together, and how it was so heartfelt. What a heartfelt thing for us to have so early on in this series, which is a lot of comedy, a lot of fun, and a lot of marvels, but not a whole lot of feels yet. Not a whole lot of you're really getting personal with the characters, and this is one of those episodes with Byakuya and Senku's relationship, 4,000 years apart from each other, still father and son. Really nice. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section down below. I'm sorry this review is dragged on and I'm a little dull on it, but as I said, it's very early in the morning, and even with this cup of tea, I'm very sleepy. So, anyways, everyone, like, comment, and subscribe if you like. Bell notification if you want to know every time I drop a video, all that good jazz. This has been Griever with your Dr. Stone episode review. We'll see you back here next time, guys.